And it might forget all the days. Okay. It's just that.
I don't know what anybody. Council President.
Thank you. Did you get a bottle of water? Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I apologize for our slightly late start. So I apologize for us starting a little late. We did have an executive session at 6:30 for council to talk about tax assessment appeals, which our solicitors will speak about during their report. So at this point in time, I'd like to welcome you all to the Upper Darby Township Council meeting for July 21st, 2021. At this point in time, please everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence for those who have been lost. Thank you. This meeting is officially open. Councilwoman Phillips, can you give us a roll call?
Sure. Councilor Tunis Jr. Councilor Phillips is here. Councilor Silva.
He is excused and will be late, so he will come in when he gets. Okay.
Councilor Bagwell.
Can you use your mic? Because no one can hear you.
Are we sharing mics?
Yes.
You guys are sharing mics.
Okay.
That's okay. Present. Councilor Coyne.
Present.
Councilor Burke.
Here.
Councilor Siddiq.
I'm here.
Councilor Faralia.
Here.
Councilor Barnett is excused, right?
Yes, Council.
And Councilor Wagner
Here.
and Council President.
I'm here. And also want to acknowledge that we have Mayor Pepper with us, solicitors Kilkenny and Richardson, CAO Ragioni, municipal clerk Alexis. Alexis, can you say your last name for me? Cicchetti. I'll work on it. Okay, great. And we have Officer Bateman as our Sergeant of Arms. And we, Treasurer Heyman will also be joining us after 8 o'clock. So if we get to his report before 8 o'clock, we will just move it forward on the agenda until he gets here. Is that okay, Solicitor?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, great. So thank you all for being here. We greatly appreciate you all being here. All right, so next up, we have rules of meeting decorum. Upper Darby Township Council and residents will maintain professional respect for each other. Council encourages free speech, however, civility is required, which would prohibit threats, profanity, scandalous, impertinent, and redundant comment, or any comment the discernible purpose of which is to disrupt or prevent the conduct of the business of the meeting. At this point in time, can we get a motion to approve the minutes of June 2nd, 2021?
So moved.
Seconded.
Are there any questions or concerns on the minutes of June 2nd? Seeing none, all those and council members, you do need to use your microphones because the recording for the streaming, the sound for the recording comes from the use of your microphones.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just as a clarity. So we had some sound blackouts at our last meeting, so I just wanted to make sure we're all clear. Okay, we ready? All those in favor of passing the minutes for June 2nd, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, and then next up, we need a motion to approve the minutes for June 23rd.
So moved. Second.
So I heard Sadiq. And Lynn at the same time. So Tina Senior. Councilman Goodwin, you don't have to raise your hand anymore. You're in Zoom mode. You're in person, you can hop right in there, okay? So, thank you though. I appreciate that, but just want to let you know. Okay, and then are there any questions or concerns on the minutes for the 23rd? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you. Great. So next up, we have our public forum, and Ms. Phillips, you have the list of signees.
Yes.
And I will, I'll be setting up a 3-minute timer. And Ms. Phillips, what is your timer? 2:45. Okay. I just want to apologize. At our last meeting, I think Ms. Phillips and I had failed to pause our timers appropriately when there was a response to a resident's question within their 3-minute window. So we will work diligently on pausing properly and then restarting when the speaker continues to speak. Okay, so I think that's where we had a little bit of snags at our last meeting. So I just wanted to clear that up. We realized that we had made a mistake and then we tried to fix it, but we want to make sure we're consistent for all speakers. Okay. All right, so go ahead.
Ms. Terry Bradley.
Terry Bradley, 1213 Morgan Avenue. I'm also putting my timer. Should I start now?
And go. You're all-
For 20 years now, my family has endured living next door to multiple 100-foot hazard trees. Today, 5 large limbs fell on my house. The owners were offended when the elderly couple who sold us the house regularly tossed fallen limbs from those hazard trees back onto their property. The hazards predate my residency in this township. The damage done, a massive limb crushed the hood of my father's car while he was driving in it, inches from the windshield, which he could have been killed instantly had he been driving a little faster. Massive limbs have gouged our roof, pulled down our gutters, our lights, electrical lines, and shattered the window where my child slept inches from that window. All reported to the mayor, to council, to LNI, to the township arborist, and now to State Representative Zabel and to Senator Kearney. Excuse me. Each has received all these reports from certified arborists declaring the hazard 100-foot trees in a death spiral, clearly diseased and in decline, an obvious danger to homes and human life. And LNI ordered these trees removed. And then Mayor Keffer issued a gag order to everyone involved, LNI and council and everyone on staff. She weaponized the lawyers in this township to frighten and dissuade the residents from demanding that she do her job and to block access to information that all of you know we're entitled to. Attorney Courtney Richardson has done what she came here to do, make money. She's billed the taxpayers upwards of $100,000 for work she states she has done for us from January to April, more than $25,000 per month without a fee schedule and without specificity because she claims she doesn't itemize her bills. In essence, what she's saying is, I've done the legal work. I've done it. Believe me when I tell you, just trust me. But here's a $100,000 bill, pay up. And you know what? The mayor and the treasurer do so. This is against township's rules. State officials have reprimanded and scolded the mayor for her failure to provide information we're entitled to, and they ordered her to provide it, and Mayor Keffer has continued to refuse to do so. During a recent Zoom meeting, Mayor Keffer was on her phone on what appeared to be a personal call while state officials reported on the health and viability of our fire department. That hour-long telephone conversation is subject to sunshine laws of this state, as are any of the texts and emails that you send during these meetings. So Mayor Keffer violates her oath to protect us, to equitably enforce the law. She violates rights to know and sunshine laws, and she disrespects state officials and the residents of this township. Disgraceful and unbelievably hypocritical. I heard how you criticized the McCosey administration. Where's the change that you promised? This is transparency? What part of this makes you feel powerful? Keeping us in the dark or keeping us frightened? Either way, it's probably both, but both of them are sickening. And we were warned. Milburn warned us and Rutledge warned us, and we are exactly where they told us we would be. No mystery there. The mystery for me is why council has agreed, why all of you have agreed.
You're out of time.
Okay, while all of you have agreed to remain silent in all of this.
You're out of time.
The at-large people represent me. 5 minutes.
You're out of time.
This is disgraceful,
You're-
and you know.
You're out of.
May I comment?
Sure, Councilman Wagner.
Mrs. Bradley has brought these concerns regarding the trees anyway, to me personally. I will say to you, Mrs. Bradley, and to the public who can hear this, you made some reference to the mayor issuing a gag order to everybody on council. That's certainly not true because I've never seen or heard any such gag order whatsoever. That said, I think the issue here is the trees. And I think it is a serious issue. I know Mrs. Bradley has expressed to me the concern that she feels council is not listening to her, and the mayor's office is not listening to her, and the township is not listening to her. I'd like it to be made clear to her that we are listening to her, that we understand this problem. I've lived in Drexel Hill for a long, long time, and I know that there are some very large, very old trees because it's an old community. In my opinion, I'm certainly no expert on the subject of trees, but I would like the administration just to hire a private independent arborist, go out and look at the trees that are in question and make a determination about whether they're safe or not safe. And if they're unsafe, then do something about it. And I think that should be the resolution of this. So I support that much of Mrs. Bradley's statements. I certainly don't support the notion that I or anybody else on this council, in my knowledge, has been told not to speak about it. I am unaware of any such thing, and I don't think there's a basis.
Many have represented to me.
You're out of order, Miss Bradley.
President Wentz, I believe the CAO may have something to
Yes,
comment.
go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, personal insults and ad hominem attacks aside, I think Councilman Wagner is right to isolate the substance of the issue. In point of fact, the township has sent out an arborist. So that makes at least 3 arborists, one from the most prominent neighbor that Mrs. Bradley complains about, one from Mrs. Bradley and one from the township. None of them have agreed with Mrs. Bradley's apparently expert assessment that the trees are diseased. And at the end of the day, this is a dispute between and among neighbors. It's not really the place of the government to settle a dispute between and among neighbors. Although I would point out to the taxpaying public and residents that countless hours of my time and Solicitor Richardson's time and Director McSween's time, which equates to thousands and thousands and thousands of taxpayer dollars, have been spent trying to assuage Mrs. Bradley's fears about these trees, which she herself has mentioned. She has lived in this tremendously dangerous environment for 20 years or more. I think we can let her performance and her existence before us tonight speak for itself in that regard.
Decorum? This is what you told.
And
You're out of order. He has the floor.
so, Councilman Wagner, to your point, we did send an arborist out there. There have been no fewer than 3 arborists who have evaluated the property and the trees.
5 arborists.
I said no fewer than 3. And at some point, we will enforce the decorum policy in this room. Like, this is totally unacceptable.
Miss Bradley, your turn to speak is over. Council is responding. Please remain quiet. Your time to speak is over. Your time to speak is over. The next step is to have our Sergeant of Arms remove you from the room. That is where we are at this point in time. So either you allow us to respond to your comments and you remain quiet, or the next step, the next time you speak, the sergeant of arms will remove you from the room.
So in conclusion, I mean, this is not a personal matter of any type. This is not a political matter of any type. The township has done its level best to evaluate the situation and provide professional guidance, and in fact, extended itself to attempt to mediate the neighborly dispute. And in all honesty, in my opinion, we were reasonably close to a resolution when personal attacks and ad hominem attacks resumed to a level where it was really no longer appropriate, not that it was ever appropriate. So the independent arborist has been there, and there is disagreement with the arborist about the assessment. So at some point, neighbors have to work together and resolve these issues.
Thank you. Solicitors, was there anything else you wanted to add in your own? Okay, great. Thank you. Is there a next speaker?
Thank you, Ms. Bradley. Our next speaker is Mr. Gerald Harrison, I'm sorry.
Evening, everybody.
And we're going to start our timer
Gerald Harrison, 29 South Kirkland Avenue.
now.
I'd like to begin pretty much where I left off. I'd asked about the COVID situation in Upper Darby, specifically to the spread of the virus going on here, the vaccination rate, and any other pertinent statistics. And the CIO Ron Gioni has looked into that. Do you have any update on that information? Please pause the thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize. I do not have updated figures from the last meeting. So I will make sure to prepare those and send them to you. And with the council president's permission, have them included in the minutes after we respond.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you. And Joe?
The reason I ask is because we all know that there's this new Delta variant, and it is tearing through communities that have below a certain undefined, unnamed vaccination rate. So I'd like to know what the situation is. I think everybody needs to know what our situation is unique here in Upper Darby. So I look forward to finding out what the most current pertinent details are.
Absolutely.
The next area is, for me, is my understanding, please correct me if I don't have it right, that there is a $25,000 allocation for trash cans, $5,000 a year for 5 years. Do I have that correct, first of all?
Yes. The 5-year capital budget is not completely approved. The first $5,000 was approved. The rest is planned, but not yet voted on by council.
Well, my focus has been, I had a very nice meetings many months ago before COVID with Mayor Keffer and Dobbins, Assistant Dobbins, about what I call the critical or crucial corridor. By that, I'm referring to the Market Street 200 to 300 yards between 69th Street and Coakley. I believe that is crucial because tens of thousands of people go through there, coming and going east and west every day. I tend to see it as a possible three-dimensional billboard, if you will, for Upper Darby. And after the last meeting, there was a little bit of internet discussion. And someone showed a very recent picture that evening, I believe, and there was some trash near one of the canisters. Now, I had thanked and will reiterate that thanks to Mayor Keffer and her team for the massive and consistent and sustained improvement in that area. Is it perfect? Of course not. Can more be done? I sure hope so, and I would like to see a real beautification considered, which basically in my mind means flowers planted and of course maintained. And that's the other half of all of these equations is the maintenance. So what is the status? You say it's not approved yet. Is that my understanding? I'm still looking for trash cans. I see 5 or 6 trash cans.
So to answer the question, as CAO Rangioni had mentioned, we've only approved the first 10 million of the capital budget bond that was last year. So that is the first set of the funding. And then each year we're going to look to approve the next 10 million. So in the fall, we'll be discussing the capital budget and the funds, and the bonds, just like we did last fall. So that's what he was referring to. So, the
So
next.
it hasn't been forgotten.
Right, no, I had never forgotten, not possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And
Thank you,
the
Ms.
next
Harrison.
person?
Ms. Melissa Harris.
And I'm sorry, Council President, if I could
Sure.
just follow up quickly
Yes.
with Mr. Harrison. I mean, the whole project is not in any way forgotten. We continue to meet with all of the stakeholders, SEPTA, the Ashkenazi Development Holding Corp. down there. We've met with the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society. We're trying to figure out what the plan is to do the beautification and maintain it in the most cost-effective way, but absolutely not forgotten.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that clarification.
Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. Here we go, sir. Okay, am I ready?
And go.
Okay. Melissa Harris, 3827 Berkeley Avenue. I'm here to talk to you about 3818 Berkeley Avenue. I know President Wentz knows about it. My mother has sent her an email. 3 weeks ago, occupants of this property shot a gun off in our back driveway back there at 2:30 in the morning, and then proceeded to go rob the Wawa at Vermont and Garrett. Three perpetrators, one of them could not be held. The police did a great job coming to the property, taking evidence, getting people's film and everything, but one person could not be held. He is now back in that house. He now walks around on the streets all hours trying to intimidate the neighbors. We need your help. We need you to find out. It's owned by a 301 CP realtor. We need you guys to find this realtor, and they have to get these people out of this house. We don't know who will they bring in next. What are they going to do next? We shouldn't have to be fearful in our neighborhood about these guys and that they've shot guns off. Are the guns legal? Do we even know that? We need to feel safe in our homes. And I understand people have a right to live and blah, 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 but so do we. We have a right too to be safe in our houses. And also, my mother was up here at the last meeting. We've been requesting a meeting with you, Mayor Keffer, and you, President Wentz, and you, Rangoni?
Rangioni.
Rangioni. You sent us the thing of the 2015 ordinances, and I read through them all, and they don't help the homeowners now. Those ordinances are from 2015. We need new ordinances to help the homeowners to take back our neighborhoods. We have over 12 rented properties and 8 duplexes on our street, and we need help. We need your help. We need better ordinances. We need these landlords to be responsible. We need them to come check their properties, not just collect the check. And that's, we would really like to have this meeting, and we'll keep coming until we get a meeting with you guys, because we really would like to get new ordinances made to help us.
So in reference to the ordinance I sent you, it is the most recent property maintenance update. It's based on the 2015 international.
Right, I read it.
Maintenance ordinance, so it is the most recent property maintenance ordinance. We passed it last year. It slipped through the cracks of our codification, and then we had to repass it this past April. So it is the most up to date as far as that.
Right, I understand it. But those
So
ordinances don't really help us.
Well, it's.
They need to be tweaked.
Right, well, there were things that you had asked about.
Right.
The answers were in that ordinance. Not all of the things you asked about were in that ordinance, but some of the things you asked about were in.
I could give you
So-
one example.
So, but your time is up.
Yeah, okay.
So we will definitely, I have forwarded your request and your mother's request for a meeting. I think it's a matter of finding the right time on the
Right.
calendar for everyone to be able to get together. So we will, touch base in a week or so to see I'll touch base with the mayor and CAOs so that we can find a good date.
Okay,
We just had a lot of things happening, but no, I did send the email. We're just trying to get the calendar together.
okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you very much. And
Is there Richard Bly?
Rich Bly, 7041 Clover Lane. Good evening.
and sir,
Good evening, council. Good evening, Mayor Keffer. Good evening, Council President. Council President, when I first started speaking here and when I had relations with certain council members, I talked to former Council President Bonnet. And what I would like to do is specifically address any comments or concerns directly to you as you are in charge of this forum and this room. So I don't want to talk to anybody else. I don't want to talk to any of the council people, mayor, anybody. I just want to address you. First of all, just want to bring up the fact that you have public information out in the public that is unrestricted and unfettered downstairs at the table where you sign in at. You've required folks to sign in to come into this building where they put their public information on a piece of paper, name, telephone number, and address. Each and every paper that's been signed on for everybody in this building now has access. It's been accessed by me. That means that I can take pictures, take it out of the building if I felt like it, because you have not secured the information. Yes, it is still downstairs. That's number one. Number two, the reason why my brother, former retired United States Army Brian Taylor, standing here next to me, is that we need to address the situation with the POW MIA flag. Now, I know that it's mighty difficult to keep up with a lot of the events that happen in the township. I know that there are a lot of things that overlap on the calendar. We understand that. But the POW MIA flag not being properly displayed is no excuse from anybody up here, Council President. For anybody that does not have the information, I just want to let you know that the POW MIA flag has been adopted by President Bill Clinton, and that when this was signed over that this needs to be displayed in federal buildings, a lot of states and local governments also adopted the law to show respect to those who made the ultimate sacrifice by giving their lives ever since World War II, over 81,000 souls that did not come back. So for a lot of you who understand the exercise of freedom, and for not to have the POW MIA flag up is a direct slap in the face to anyone who has served, including my father, who just recently passed last Sunday after his tour in Vietnam. So this is something that we're not going to get up off of. I especially am not going to get up off of. We have the solicitor here who's a JAG officer. And for him to sit silent on there just goes to show you exactly how inconsistent this government is. So we're going to help you. So what I did was I downloaded the Recognition Day Toolkit, the fact sheet, the Recognition Day, how to set up a POW MIA table, which has space right downstairs. So Council President, Sergeant Arms, can I have you for a second, please?
so you're technically out of time.
I'm just going to hand him something to give you something.
Sure.
Okay. And with that being said, the third Friday, excuse me. the
You're
third
out of
Friday-
time.
The
You're
third
out
Friday
of
of September is POW MIA Day.
Thank you,
So
but
now
you're
you
out
have
of
a list
time.
to get that back.
Yeah.
Council President, may I?
Sure, you're more than welcome to respond.
Thank you. I'm just looking to the township for a response to that, which is it's certainly a legitimate point. And I want to know, do we have any plans to display that flag? If not, why not? Maybe there's a reason not. I'm just asking for a response.
Yeah, sure. There is an established flag protocol for this flag and other flags. It applies to certain federal buildings and federal installations, military cemeteries, military memorials, Secretary of Defense offices, Secretary of State offices, and so on. Originally, the Defense Authorization Act of 1989 specified 6 days: Armed Forces Day, Memorial Day, Flag Day, Independence Day, POW, MIA, Recognition Day, and Veterans Day. It's subsequently been updated to fly daily at certain federal buildings. There has never been any mandate for the flag to fly at any state or local government office. And the flag protocol is a work in progress in Upper Darby. The mayor has chosen to. Mayor has chosen.
Can we
to
have
use the
quiet in
flag
the audience? The CAO is responding. Sorry.
to recognize historic.
You're out of order.
Historically
You're out. Please stop
underrepresented
speaking from the
and
audience.
discriminated against people. And I think the federal recognition of the flag and endorsement of the flag would counterindicate that moniker for this flag.
So just now,
So there's no conversation from the audience. Okay? Regardless of the issue, regardless of the concern, there's no conversation from the audience. Okay? Thank you, CAO. Who's next?
Well, I have a question.
Okay?
So, just want to make sure that I'm clear and I heard what you're saying. So, CAO, so we're saying that with, regulations from the federal government and defense and about flying this flag, POW and MIA, that it's not mandated? It's not, or it's not necessary to fly it over? I get over, federal buildings, but flying it over any government building is not necessary or it's not required? I'm just trying to.
Well, civilians are free to fly the flag whenever and wherever they choose.
Right, no, I get that.
But, well, I'm just trying to respond to the idea of necessary or required. So
Okay.
it's required at certain federal locations on certain days and in certain federal locations throughout the year. The armed services are, of course, a branch of the federal government. And so that's where the flag is appropriately required to be flown. Yeah.
I have a question. Can council request to have one flown? If we all voted on it?
I mean, you could certainly request it. I guess it would be a question for the solicitor, the extent to which you could like require operational, et cetera.
I don't know that answer off the top of my head. I assume in general, council of course always request, make a motion, you can do it.
Yeah.
But as far as the administration having to honor that, probably not, but I don't know that off the top of my head.
And listen, I think it's fair to say that the administration doesn't have any desire to be sucked into some larger culture war proxy fight over this flag. I mean, everybody respects and honors the service of our military men and women, particularly, if not especially, those who made the ultimate sacrifice and or who may be missing in action. There are certain important realities to this. The acronym Missing in Action is a creation of the Nixon administration. That
Please.
I'm trying to explain the history of the flag. For people who are actually interested in what's going on, it might be useful to know something about the flag. So prior to the acronym MIA being in existence, you were simply killed in action, body unrecovered. And so it was an effort during the Vietnam era to change the terminology around this particular situation. The idea, I mean, the administration recently negotiated with one of our collective bargaining agreements to make Veterans Day a day off holiday for our township workers. Like, the notion that the mayor and the administration are not sensitive to or caring about veterans and their issues is an assertion without merit. The fight over this flag is an attempt to draw us all into a larger culture war or proxy war.
There is no,
Goal-
you're out of
He
order.
can't sit up here.
You are out of order. You are out of order.
Don't let him do that. You're not gonna make a start off of what I said. publicly.
You are out of order.
Then don't let him do that.
You are out of order.
Don't let him make an assertion
You are out of
what I
order.
said.
Sergeant of Arms, please escort him out.
I'll be back next time. That's all. I'll be back saying the same thing again.
You're out. You're out of order. Sir, you are out of order. You are out of order.
You guys.
You are out of order.
Time. Thank you, sir.
So in conclusion, the goal of this administration is to unite Upper Darby, is to have one Upper Darby for everyone and not to be drawn into exactly this kind of situation. That's the goal of the administration.
Sir, Mr. Taylor, you do not have the floor. You do not have the floor. You are out of order. There is no conversation from the audience. You sign up to speak, and those are the people who come up to speak. Otherwise, there is no discussion from the audience.
You go out of my brothers and sisters.
You,
Actually,
Did you?
there's information.
Excuse me.
They're the reason why you sit up there.
you're out of order. You're out of order.
Excuse me, sir.
May I have a comment?
Sure.
Sure, thank you. CEO Rajan?
Yeah.
You mentioned 6 dates, correct?
I did.
Would it be, favorable to try to fly that flag for those 6 dates and maybe the month of September? I'm not asking for a vote today, but maybe a thought, since it is the 3rd Friday of September and we do fly other flags for other months of the year. Just a suggestion and a thought to the administration, not a vote today, not for conversation, but for later, those 6 days and maybe the month of September. It's just my thought process.
And then I see what reaction it gets.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, look,
would that be just a conversation to have maybe?
absolutely. I mean, and I'm certainly not empowered to make the decision myself, and I know you're not asking for a decision or a vote tonight, but I mean, that's a reasonable request in a reasonable frame with a reasonable purpose. As I said, the flag protocol is a work in progress. So, yeah, I mean, reasonable people coming together to reason together in a democratic process. So, yeah, it's a reasonable request for a reasonable purpose. It's, yeah, let's have a conversation. Good.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you. Who do we have next?
Sparrow
Patches.
Harris.
Council, my name's Sparrow Patches.
I'm sorry, one second, sorry, we gotta get our timers rolling. Okay, and you're right, and go.
My name's Sparrow Patches. I live at 2423 Cedar Lane in Drexel Hill. I'd like to ask a question. Was there a proclamation or a vote to fly the rainbow flag?
No. You're right.
I mean, I don't recall one. The mayor just goes and raises it and refuses to raise the MIA flag.
Come on.
Actually, there was a proclamation, and there was a proclamation declaring the month of June, Pride Month, right? Or month of July, I'm sorry. June. And then we also had a proclamation for Juneteenth, and both flags flew over this building together,
Okay.
along with the US flag.
And there is no refusal.
I'm not saying there is a refusal. I'm not saying there is a refusal. Okay, well, let me get to my point. There's a parallel driveway in back of my house. And you consider this a private driveway. It is no way, shape, or form a private driveway. I emailed the mayor, I didn't get a response about this. This is constantly used by residents, non-residents, the Upper Darby trash trucks, whoever pleases to use this. If it's considered a private driveway, it should be gated, we should be allowed to gate it off. But we're not. It's a public driveway. And the township should be responsible for these driveways. They should be repaved. And that's it. And that's it. And there is an area where there is a sewer line. It constantly floods. It's a separation between the two lines of houses. There is no house there, so I don't know who's responsible for the sewage line. It's obviously the township's property to be responsible for that sewage line. If it's a private driveway, then it's the residents' responsible for the driveway. I don't know which way to turn. These driveways need to be repaved. They're in poor shape. They are not private driveways in no shape and form. Another thing is, I'd like to know, how long do we have to live in fear? Upper Darby is building a community center. There's constant shootings down there. How are you supposed to attract people and businesses to go down in Upper Darby Township if there's no law enforcement down there? How long do we have to live in fear? Why can't the police enforce the law? Why does the mayor constantly undermine the police to not enforce the law? You appease to UJDT for some ungodly reason. I don't know why. I wonder who runs this township. Is it UJDT or is it Mayor Keffer? That's it. That's all I have to say.
All right. Go ahead, Mayor. No response, yes. Mr. Papa, so regarding the common driveways, they are private property, and we are trying to work on a plan to pave them if possible. We're looking for funding, possibly through CDBG grants. But what we're doing in the short term is whenever there's a resale certification, UNO, or a rental inspection, the private driveways are supposed to be inspected, and if they're in bad condition, they're supposed to be repaired before the UNO or the rental license is granted. So I know it's a slow way to get it done, but it's just it's the beginning for us. It's a big problem throughout like a lot of the neighborhoods in Upper Darby. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
President?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to correct, I believe.
Sir, there's no conversation. You've had your time to speak. Council's now responding to your comments. I need you to be quiet in the audience, okay?
Yeah, Mr. Pappas, something that's very helpful is if you having trouble reaching, sometimes the request line will be weird. So it's great to go through your council person, as we are elected to also serve you, right? So common times in my district, we need to issue residents reach out to me. I usually try to meet them the same day or email them back. Council person, I'm not sure if this is the third district.
I think that addresses in my district. I think it.
Yeah, so that's your friend right there. And just about the various comments about law enforcement, especially in my district, I've seen under the leadership of Superintendent Barnhart, increased law enforcement presence. I've seen residents where I live feel a little bit more safer, and the things that are happening are troubling. What I would say is I do know the Upper Darby Police Department is committed to serving and protecting every resident in this township. So anything outside of that scope, as a resident and grew up here, I just can't really let that be said publicly about statements.
Thank you. Also want to point out that Superintendent Bernhardt was here at our last meeting. You can watch the meeting via YouTube, or you can check out the minutes, but that were approved this evening. But he gave us a long list of things that they have been working to improve this protection of the residents in our township, which also include the hiring of many new officers of diversity into our community to help protect everyone. They are working on protecting every aspect of the township. They have bike patrols, they have officers, out everywhere. And they're paying attention and they're responding, as Ms. Harris had indicated, that they, they're very receptive and they're very duteous to do their job. So I just want to clarify that work is being done. We always can do things to improve. And hearing from the residents during these council meetings gives us a chance to hear the things that we didn't necessarily hear. And the goal is to take the information you're providing us and, basically looking into it to see what we can do to improve the situation. So I just wanted to clarify that. Anyone else want to respond?
Yeah, I just want to add to you, Mr. Pappas, Mr. Tunis is quite right. If you want to reach out to me, please do. Call me on my cell phone. I'll tell you the number right now, or you can hunt it out if you want. It's 215-9.
I would like it, please.
215-901-4308. Feel free to call me, during the day, during business hours, and I'll be, if you don't get me, I'll call you back. And if I can help you, I will.
Can you repeat that, please, sir?
215-901-4308.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Olivia Taylor.
Wow. Olivia Taylor, 204 Kent Road.
Wait, sorry, just wait.
Oh.
Gotcha. And timer, go.
204 Kent. Wow. All I can say is wow. I wasn't expecting to see everything that just took place here. What I was going to talk about is a couple weeks ago, I noticed that you all brought goats back. My question to you all was how much of this of our tax dollars was wasted on goats? I'm not understanding the obsession with you all with these farm animals. I think this money could have been well spent of paying the guys from leadership services, the overtime. You think they couldn't use that extra money to take care of their families and pay these high taxes you raised, Mayor? What is with the obsession with these farm animals? I'm not understanding with everything going on. What happened to taking care of our own? But you rather make the farmhand rich with our tax dollars. Got it. Number 2, 69th Street. To have a resident come in here and say what a good job you're doing to 69th Street is a disgrace. It is disgusting down here. It is Kensington and Allegheny all over again. You've done absolutely nothing, nothing. And my question to you, Mr. Solicitor, to you, back in April, May of this year, this administration received 2 stimulus packages, 2, totaling in the sum of $40 million. Am I correct, sir? From the federal government?
I'm not answering questions.
You're not answering? Of course you're not. But anyway, 4 million of that was allotted to the homeless. Am I correct? Of course, I'm not going to get an answer, but I'll continue. 4 million of that was allotted to the homeless. That was back in April. Here we are in the middle of July going into August. Those people are still out there on the street in 105-degree weather and in the rain while you sit on millions that was given to you by the federal government to get them off the street. I want to know why. You can pause my time until he come up with an answer.
I'm not answering your questions.
Why not? Why not?
This is a public forum where you're supposed to.
We are a public forum. I'm asking you a simple
It's not
question.
a debate.
I'm asking you a simple question. I would like an answer as a resident. I'm asking you a direct question. You denied everybody in here right to knows. Anything they ask, you ran on transparency. Well, when are you going to be transparent?
I'm happy to clear up a simple mistake.
You are not part of this. You're not part of the body, the governing body. You are not allowed to address anyone at this podium unless you are directed, ask a question.
That's not
And
correct.
that is true. Would you
But
tell him not to interrupt
If the
me?
council president.
Would
like
you
to
tell him not to interrupt me?
Your time is.
No, it's
still
not.
ticking.
He's interrupting
Your time
me.
is still ticking.
Okay, then tell him to stop. Then tell him to stay out of this. My question was directed to the solicitor.
The solicitor's not responding, so if you would like an answer, CAO Ragione.
I didn't ask him nothing. I didn't ask him. I don't want to answer from him. I don't want to answer from him.
Obviously,
Okay.
I don't want to answer from him.
Then there is no answer.
Then there is no answer. Let me
If you-
continue
if you
on
don't
my
allow
time.
the
You're
people-
interrupting my time. Again, you're interrupting my time. Let me continue. If he's not going to answer, then I would like to continue. Okay, 69th Street. You're still talking. 69th Street. Again, you've done nothing. Let's talk about the other side of 69th Street, that roller coaster you call a street. How many cars in the course of a day do you think has lost their wheel alignment, knocked it out? Huh? Busted their wheel drums? How many? While y'all sitting here talking about farm animals and chickens and goats? And y'all sit on millions of dollars.
Your time is
How
up.
many?
Your time is up.
My time is not up.
Your
I'm just
time is
counting.
up. Your
I didn't
time
get no
is
raise.
up.
No. You're gonna
Your
answer
time
my
is
question.
up. Your
See,
time
he's
is up.
recording me, and he's recording me for a
Your
reason.
time is
You're
up
on
and you
notice.
are out of
His
order.
scepter's on
Your
notice.
time is up and
Because
you
I'm
are
going
out
to take
of
a trip
order.
to the state capitol and to show the
Your time
government this
is
building.
up
And as
and
for you,
out of
I'm
order.
going to take a lawyer for you. I had enough. $40 million. Where is it?
Out of order. Who's next?
So can I respond to that?
Sure.
So as far as the homeless is concerned on 69th Street, a lot of times, so I work with the homeless in my full-time job, right? And a lot of times what happens is we may not always know what their need is. We might not always know where they want to go or where they want to be. Things are being done, Ms. Taylor. It may not be done as quickly as you would like it, but things are being done.
You're out of order. There's no conversation
I'm
from
talking to
the
you, Ms.
audience.
Taylor.
There's no conversation from the audience.
I'm so
There's-
put in work on
That's
it.
fine, that's fine.
Stop.
That's fine. You can put it in work on. Just make sure you spell my name correctly. Okay, just make sure you spell my name
There's
correctly.
no conversation from the audience.
Okay.
Stop talking from the audience.
And my thing is, Ms. Taylor,
Stop. She's not gonna hear you and it's not
Okay.
worth it.
so you know what, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm
It's
gonna
not
stop
worth it
talking. But Ms. Taylor, just please know that things are being done. Things are being done.
Please,
I can't tell you the
you're out of order.
So are you.
You're out of order.
Thank you. Well, my lawyers don't love this video.
Sergeant of Arms, please escort her out because she's not stopping. No, you're done. You're being escorted out. You're being escorted out. You're being escorted out. You're being escorted out.
Okay.
Sergeant of Arms is doing his job.
Okay, no problem.
Please
Mr.
respect
I'll
him.
see you in court. Here, you're on notice.
Please, you're out of order.
And I'm still out of order.
Yep. Out of-
So are you. All y'all out of order.
Out of order.
That's a clown.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I just can't wait till we get a chance
Who's
to
next?
go each and every one of
Who's
those
next?
sorry lines out of here.
Who's next?
Okay, the next person is Sheila Wright.
See you in court.
Jesus, help me, Lord.
President, I'm sorry, could I just beg a quick second?
Yes, please. I'm sorry, Miss Wright, do you mind for a moment for him to respond?
You want me to sit down or?
No, just stay there.
Oh,
Just.
I'll be
go
very
ahead.
brief, I
Now, take your
apologize.
time, honey.
I
I don't have nowhere to be.
just want to clear up a simple misunderstanding and misstatement of fact about sort of civics 101. Sean Kilkenny is the township's solicitor. He's our legal counsel. He would be in no position to receive or disperse funds from the federal government or from any other source. So it is without basis that Sean would be in receipt of funds from the federal government or that he would be in charge of the disbursement of those funds. Number two, the township has been allotted American Rescue Plan money from the federal government. To date, exactly zero of those dollars have hit our bank account, whether they have been earmarked for any specific purpose or not. So those are just some very simple clarifications on, the nature of government and whether the money is sitting somewhere in a bank account of ours. Sorry.
No, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Ms. Ray, are you ready? Awesome, we're gonna start your time.
I didn't even say who I was. I didn't say where I live. I thought,
You're going to say that.
once you start the time.
Yeah. Go ahead and say it, and then we're gonna start the time, okay?
Okay, Reverend Sheila Wright, 7238 Glenthorne Road, Apartment A, overseer of Institutional Blood
And
Outreach Center for All People.
Time begins now.
Good evening to all. This has been really a moment. It's taken me back to a few years ago, and I must say this. I personally miss Mr. McCosey. I really, really, really do, because he was very personal. What I want to talk about tonight is about the lights on Long Lane and Clinton. They were supposed to have been fixed. They're not fixed. People are probably getting tickets and not understanding why. Because sometimes the green light will come on. Other times you're sitting there waiting over 7 minutes. Backing up what the gentleman was saying about the alleys, trash in the alleys. I don't understand how license inspection granted license to 7231 Clinton Road where my daughter lives. And she has a disability with all the blacktop is all chopped up out back. You could trip and break your neck trying to keep it clean out there. My other concern is about the exes. I had already spoken with Officer Batman. I'm so grateful for him because he's on task with what he has to do during his busy times. But we have exes, cars are being bumped into and scratched up because they're not painted. And I've called community service. I've made a lot of phone calls. Okay, and like the gentleman said and the lady said, you could call, I sent emails, I didn't get no response. I guess they're telling me it went to the wrong email address, or either they're telling me because it was the pandemic. I'm so tired of everybody blaming everything on the pandemic because this is Upper Darby, and we need to realize people are moving out. They're selling their homes to anybody who wants to buy them as is. 4 houses were sold on Clinton Road. And what happens? They come and put a little paint and they rent it out Section 8. And they don't even live in Philadelphia. They live in New York. They live in California. They live in the Bronx. I know this for a fact. And my response is the taxpayers that are paying money, they're paying their money. And people are coming in and they're taking over, and they don't even own the property. They don't pick up the trash. I'm 67 years age, and I'm out there picking up trash, trying to make it clean and say, oh no, things are going to get better. Like 3 years ago, I said, make Upper Darby great again. You know, do something. There's nothing that I have seen has been done since everyone has been in office. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to point the finger, because you know who you are. But get it together. If you live in Drexel Hill, if you live in Ridley, and then you telling me to stay in Upper Darby, I want to buy a house. I'm not buying no house in Upper Darby for the taxes to be high, and no one is doing anything about the traffic lights or the trees or anything.
Ms. Wright, you're out of time.
Good.
Thank you for sharing your concerns. So the signals you were talking at Long Lane and Clinton, that's a traffic signal that is there, right? Ms. Wright?
Yes, it is a traffic light, and I spoke with the chief in command, and he told me y'all don't do nothing, you don't want to spend the money.
Ma'am, please, I just need that clarification.
But I wanted to add to it.
I understand, I need you to not add to it, okay?
But y'all have a good night.
I'm
If you
trying
don't
to
get
help.
my election,
I'm trying to
and I'll
help.
be out there campaigning
I'm
because
trying to
ain't nobody
help.
gonna vote
You're
with
not
y'all.
helping. Me trying
Have a
to-
blessed one.
Awesome, have a good day. Okay, so, CAO, can we look into that traffic light concern?
Yeah, absolutely. I took down the street address.
Awesome, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Who's next?
Mr. Steve Locker?
Steve Lockard, 427 Spruce Avenue.
And time is starting now.
My name's Steve Lockard. I live at 427 Spruce Avenue, 7th District, 10th Precinct. I'm a member of Upper Darby Trails and come to speak about 3 things. First, thank the township, many council members and the mayor for prodding PennDOT to line stripe the newly paved streets of 69th Street from Marshall Road to Ruskin Lane and Providence Road from Lansdowne Avenue to Oak Lane. A certain amount of safety and traffic calming in these spaces will hopefully result. Secondly, Upper Darby Trails believes that there is still room for improvement in the township in regard to pedestrian, bicycle, and auto safety. We would hope that the council and the mayor revisit the traffic planning and design study from several years ago regarding the Garrett Road corridor, entitled The Multimodal Modernization Study of Garrett Road, Long Lane, and Bywood Avenue. It included dieting traffic lanes, using some curb bump outs, building islands at key traffic crossings. For example, Walnut Street, Avon Road, Hilltop Road, Beverly Boulevard, and the crossing into Nailers Run Park. With these changes, we would increase safety while encouraging movement to commerce in the corridor. I would not say it's shovel-ready, but it is advanced, so the time is now. Lastly, I would encourage council members to join Upper Darby Trails in exploring the New Town Square Railroad bed for green space and walking and bicycling trails. Councilman Gwynn and Tunis have explored sections of the trail with us, and Mayor Keffer is already pursuing work across Marshall Road to Chapman Park. As we all know, there isn't much open space in Upper Darby. We should help citizens to safely utilize this land for a more livable community. Thank you. I'll leave a couple copies.
Thank you for your expressing your concerns. And yes, we do like the trails. I've walked parts of them. I haven't had a chance to walk the new ones you were talking about. CA?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Lockhart. And you should know that I recently met with the township engineer about the Garrett Road modernization study. And there's a program called the Transportation Alternative Set Aside Grant Program. And we're in the process of putting together an application to fund part of the Garrett Road modernization study. If you remember in that study, it's divided into 3 segments coming down Garrett Road. And so we believe that we'll hopefully have money for the first third. And it'll be a start. So that's the Garrett Road modernization study. We share your excitement about the new striping with PennDOT. And we've informed PennDOT and DVRPC and our own road program that the overall goal is to narrow lanes for traffic calming, to reclaim more public space on the edges for pedestrians and bikes, to create a safer environment. The mayor has instructed us to pursue a Vision Zero plan with the goal of 0 serious traffic accidents or fatalities in Upper Darby Township. It's a comprehensive initiative to make it safer to move around Upper Darby. So we're doing a lot of that stuff. Thank you. Sure.
Thank you. Who's next?
Al DeGennaro?
DeGennaro.
DeGennaro. Sorry.
Just get our timers set.
Name and address.
Yes, good evening, Madam President, members of council. My name is Al DeGennaro. I'm Deputy General Counsel for JP Mascara Sons. I'm here to talk to you for a couple of minutes, if I could, about your recycling.
We need your address.
Yeah, we need your address, sir.
I'm sorry?
Your address?
My work address, 2650 Audubon Road, Audubon, PA. I'm here to speak on behalf of JP Mascara Sons. I'm the Deputy General Counsel for JP Mascara Sons.
Yeah.
Wait,
Excuse me, your home address, sir?
My home
No,
address,
He doesn't live.
I'm not,
He doesn't-
I'm not-
Well, he doesn't live here.
I'm not a resident of Upper Darby Township.
what is the business, the address of the business that you're here to speak on behalf of?
The address of the business, it's in Montgomery County. It's in Lower Providence Township, Montgomery County.
So you can't speak in public.
So wait.
Yeah, for your rules, he should not be speaking in this forum. Just maybe you can talk offline to Mr. Rongione or the mayor afterwards or something like that.
Right, so technically you have to be a resident of Upper Darby to speak out of the public forum part of our council meeting.
I did not know that. I just
And I'm
wanted to
sorry, I
speak.
did not realize that.
Sorry.
I didn't realize, sorry, I should turn my mic on. I'm sorry, so I didn't realize that you were not from the township, when you first came up. So yeah, technically you have to be a resident of Upper Darby Township to speak during the public forum.
I probably have the least controversial matter to talk about.
Possibly, but unfortunately, we are not able to hear from you in this forum, but we would love to hear from you on a non-public forum.
Okay, I'll follow up with Mr. Mongione and.
Thank you, so that we
have that
can
opportunity.
resolve whatever your concerns are.
I will do that.
Okay, great. Thank you
If I
very
could just
much.
ask you one question. I don't see on the agenda this evening, you're going to take action on the recycling.
Correct.
Contract, that's correct. You're not, right?
That's
Okay, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
I'll be back
Thank
in
you.
touch.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And that's it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. All right. So next up, we have the Honorable Mayor Lauren Hemmer. Take it away, Mayor.
Good evening, everyone. A couple updates. This Saturday, I was honored to attend the graduation ceremony for our 5 new probationary firefighters. They completed the first ever joint training academy held by the Wilmington Fire Department. Members of the Chester Fire Department were also sworn in that day. Later that night, went out to Grove Street Park and where Harry Dietzler and the shooting stars performed, and there's a big announcement that the Upper Darby Summer Stage has received 4 new donations totaling $500,000, including major gifts from Upper Darby's own Tina Fey and Monica Horan Rosenthal. The township and school district have supported Upper Darby Summer Stage for 46 magical years, and we are looking forward to the next 46 and beyond. As was mentioned before, I think it was in the public forum, that the new Delta strain of COVID-19 is racing through many communities, and I just wanted to encourage people who haven't been vaccinated yet to get their vaccines, ages 12 or over, who can receive the vaccine. And if you want to find a location near you, please call 484-276-2100 or visit www.gopa.gov/vax. And I think Councilman Siddiq will probably talk about a clinic that's coming up in Upper Darby. So for just general information about issues in the township and events that we are sponsoring or want to promote, please follow Upper Darby Government on social media. You can find us on Facebook and LinkedIn at Upper Darby altogether, and on Instagram and Twitter at Upper Darby PA. So that's it. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Could you invite the Phillies to show up at the clinic since half of them?
Thank you very much, Mayor. So for my report this evening, I just wanted to congratulate Michael Osman for his retirement from the Upper Darby Fire Department.
Council President. Is there an appointment tonight?
Oh, you're right. I'm very sorry. My bad. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Council, before you,
Yes, please.
you have a resolution with my recommendation that Reverend Dr. Damon Jones be appointed to the Civil Service Commission.
Yes. Yes,
So,
thank you. I'm sorry.
no, I always think it should be in the body of the meeting.
Yeah,
I might
yeah,
just
we
feel
like
like
that.
that being part of
Yeah.
the mayor's message.
Yep, got you. So yes, can we get a motion to approve resolution 3421, the appointment of Dr. Dan? Yes.
I would like to make.
So I got a tie between Tunis and Lynn, correct?
No.
No? I'm sorry,
She said
Ms.
it
Blackwell.
I'll second.
Tunis and Blackwell. Okay, are there any questions or concerns on this appointment? Does anyone want to?
Just one question.
Yeah.
When we have resumes in front of us, this is the second resume that's come in front of us, that the address is not written, it's their home address. So we don't.
Can you confirm? Dr. Jones lives on the 300 block of Shaylin.
That's fine. I just thought part of a resume would be your home address, since we asked for home addresses when we have public comment. Thank you.
Councilman Tunis, if you want to speak.
Yeah, I've met Dr. Jones in the community. He's done a lot of things. In the 6th and the neighboring 7th district, and my colleagues can take a look at his resume. Extremely experienced. He's done numerous.
You don't have to do that.
Numerous boards for a lot of years. He's also served on the governor's board. So just take a look at his resume. I think he would be a great fit for this commission.
Okay.
And I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
and I personally know, Dr. Jones. He and I, he and my pastor are really good friends, and he preached my church a few times, so I know him well from that aspect. He's a great guy. I think he would make a great fit.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of approving resolution 34-21, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, and Councilman Silva's here. So, great. Great to see you. Great, thank you. And any nays, please say your name. Okay, great. Wonderful, okay. Thank you, Councilman. All right, so going back to what I was trying to say, I just wanted to congratulate to Michael Osman for his retirement from the Upper Darby Fire Department and thank him for his years of service. Also want to congratulate, as Mayor Kemper just said, the new firefighters that are coming in. Want to welcome them to Upper Darby. We look forward to meeting them. And I'd like to thank all council members and Mayor Kemper for all the work that you do, working with our residents and our businesses to improve Upper Darby itself. So just wanted to say thank you. And that's all I have for this evening. So next up, we have Treasurer David Heeman. So his report is attached to the agenda. He also has a presentation. So since we're not on Zoom, we don't have the cool, share his screen thing. So instead, attached to the agenda is his treasurer's report and also his presentation so that you could follow along with it. So just wanted to make sure the audience knew that was there. And it's also in the folders for the council members. All right, so go ahead, Treasurer Heeman.
Thank you, Council President Wentz. So again, I'll start the report out the same as each month. This report summarizes the township's financial condition as of June 30th, 2021. It reviews revenues and expenses for the month, any cash balances with a performance comparison to June 30th, 2020. Our operating budget includes 4 governmental funds: the general fund, the sewer fund, the highway fund, and the sinking fund. On June 30th, our operating funds cash balance was $36,455,697. This is a decrease in our cash position from May 30th, $2,504,868. June revenues totaled $5,487,148 against expenses of $7,263,431. That's a $1,776,283 deficit for the month. There were some timing issues of some health insurance payments, which was a major factor here. There's absolutely nothing to be concerned about given that 1 month deficit. June real property tax collections were $1,062,239 below the monthly forecast, but we remain $1,563,370 ahead of forecasted year to date. So there's a timing of property tax collection. We got paid a little sooner this year. And that'll even itself out as we go on. We expect the surplus to continue to decline each month until we collect 100% of the assessed taxes. So we'll collect less and less taxes each month as we front load our tax collections early in the year. It's very normal. Through June, we have collected 95% of our property taxes and expect to collect $2,788,846 through the remainder of the year. Looking at the year-to-date finances, we took out the trend because that kind of obscures the numbers a little bit. So we removed that $5 million trend that was money in, money out. The township maintains a $260,446 revenue over projected revenue. It's actual revenue over projected, so we're in a surplus. Combined with $1,206,590 of spending above budget through the end of June. So we actually end up with a positive cash flow on the year so far of $946,144. Comparing the 2021 year-to-date results to 2020, 2021 total revenues exceed 2020 revenues by $6,059,000, while the year-to-date expenses are $4,222,672 above the year-to-date 2020. So both the revenues and the expenses are higher than at this point in 2020. It equates to a year-over-year comparative surplus when you net out the revenues and the expenses to $1,836,842. And just kind of summarize things with sort of some pictorial numbers here. Through the first half of 2021, we've collected 86% of our expected total revenue for the year and expended 51% of our projected expenses. So the expenses are right in line. And that concludes the numbers.
Great. So before we continue, can we get a motion to approve the, oh, wait, no, we're going to do your presentation, and then we'll do a motion to approve the report as a whole. Okay. So go ahead. Please.
We are about to, not immediately, but sometime soon in the last quarter of the year, go into the annual budget process. So we thought it would be a good idea to explain to our residents how this budget process works and what to expect from it. So this very brief presentation is going to explain the purpose of budgeting. Why do we have a township budget? Explain how the annual budget process works, and then provide an estimated timeline for the 2021 process. The whole idea here is to get the community, get the residents involved in the conversation. So why do we budget? This has to do with something called fiscal policy. A budget is a spending plan. It matches anticipated income with anticipated expenses, and it guides financial decision making. We have two budgets that comprise the total budget of Upper Darby Township: an operating budget, which you could think of as a day-to-day financing of the government, and this is funded through collections of taxes and fees. When you put we don't put quarters in the meters anymore, do we? We use our iPhones to pay our parking, but that all comes into helping run the day-to-day operations of the government. Second part of that is the capital budget. We heard that mentioned earlier by Council President Wentz, referred to the capital budget in response to public comment. This is money that we get through the issuance of bonds. We talked about that we have a 5-year capital budget plan that is funded through these issuance of bonds. We just had a $10 million issuance very recently. These go to buy pay for the fire trucks and the police cars and the new finance system. That's what this goes for, and many other things. And so that's the capital budget. If we glance back a year to October of 2020 to see what this looked like back in 2020. In October of 2020, we received a proposed budget for 2021. And that proposed budget was $97.7 million of expenses against $91.8 million of revenue. And it's that budget that I comment on each month and try to project how are we going to look, by the end of the year. That's the whole point of this, so that we know where we are, we know where we're going, and we can make responsible decisions when that needs to be done. So that's. So the process, this is going to start in another month or so. I've been told not to expect anything in August at the council meetings about the budget, but it's going on in the background. There are thoughts about what next year is going to look like. So what's going on in this building is that the administration creates and presents a proposed budget to the council. They're going to look back at prior years. They're going to look at this year. They're going to look at what they think's going to happen next year. They reach out to their department heads and say, what do you need to run your departments? The fire department, the police department, the sewer, the trash pickup. They anticipate the expenses and the revenues. They reconcile that into two numbers, or hopefully come very, very close together. Now, this is where our millage is determined. So we had given a presentation on how we determine millage. We talked about the county assessment that doesn't affect the millage rate. The budget does affect the millage rate, and that's why people, taxpayers and residents need to tune in and watch this process so that they understand how their property taxes are going to be determined for the coming year. And once they get the budget, their proposed budget together, the administration presents the budget to council. Council, we have a finance committee is going to go through it. They're going to make their comments to the council, the entire council. And then the budget will probably be approved. And I apologize if this is wrong, but sometime I think in November is probably when y'all are going to vote on the budget for 2022. And you'll work with the administration on the proposed budget to come to a final budget that will commence on January 1st, 2022, and then we're off and running with a new set of projected financials. The last slide in this deck is about the upcoming council meetings, the committee meetings and the council meetings. Again, there's not going to be much happening with the budget in August, but I put that in there for completeness. But there's going to be some talk starting in September, then we heat it up in October, November. We will have a budget for 2022. So we encourage everybody to participate in the process. And that concludes my presentation.
Great, thank you so much for all that information. And yes, the budget is normally approved within November with the millage rate being set in December. I think because we had some funkiness last year with the getting numbers from the county. We had to have a special meeting to set the millage because it changed from the time that we originally started the process. So the county does have influence over what our millage rate is able to be based on their assessments of the properties. So, but yes, thank you very much for that overview and your presentation and your treasurer's report. Can we get a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
I want to make a motion.
All right, so we got a tie between Tunis and Simon. So I put Tunis first, wait a second. Are there any questions or concerns on the treasurer's report or the presentation? Yes. Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, so next up, I got to find my agenda. There we are. Next up, we have committee's report, law and government, and rules and procedures. Co-chairs Phillips and Silva, members Sadiq and Blackwell. We have resolution 32-21 and Solicitor Kenny, can you give us a?
Thank you very much, President Lenz. Resolution 3221 was discussed at our committee meeting. And to briefly explain, state law and municipal records manual adopted by Upper Darby and put forward by the General Assembly gives the ability for municipalities to dispose of records that are 7 years old. Obviously, you need to decrease clutter, increase efficiency, in our township. This was discussed and voted unanimously at the committee. The records that would be, if this resolution passed, that would be disposed of are: one, animal control compliant enforcement records prior to 2015. Two, property maintenance complaint enforcement records prior to 2015. Three, health complaint enforcement inspection license records prior to 2015. Four, resident requests and complaint digital records prior to 2015. Five, routine email correspondence of former employees with no administrative value, adopted and resolved in today in council chambers.
Thank you. And I just want to clarify that any any of these cases that went to court, those documents are still intact. It's only the.
Yes, I believe that was asked the last council meeting in Clark.
Right. Okay, just wanted to re-clarify for anyone new here. Okay, thank you. So can we get a motion to approve resolution 32-21?
Second.
All right, so I heard Ms. Paralia on that one. Yeah. On the so moved. And Councilman. So since he's been on the ball, so I gotta be fast like Ms. Paralia. Great. Are there any questions or concerns on this resolution? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you. Next up, we have a public hearing on ordinance number 3099. Solicitor Richardson, can you give us a brief on this ordinance?
Thank you, Council President Wentz. This is ordinance 3099. This clarification was passed at the last council meeting by Councilman Burnett regarding the Pennsylvania Building Code and the interplay with the International Fire Code. For clarification, the solicitors did have a conversation with Lakeland Industry last week, and it's clarified that Pennsylvania Building Code adopts the International Fire Code to the extent it is referenced in Chapter 25 of the International Building Code. That being said, we reviewed all of the sections that were listed in the International Building Code, and there is no intersection between those that are listed and amended by Upper Darby's Fire Code, so there's no nothing that needs to be done in this provision. That being said, an ordinance of Upper Darby Township, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, amending the Code of Ordinance of Upper Darby Township by adopting the 2015 edition of the International Fire Code, repealing all inconsistent ordinance or parts thereof, providing severability clause and providing effective date. Now, therefore, being enacted and is hereby ordained by Upper Darby Township Council and is hereby enacted and ordained by the authority of the same as follows. We have section 1, which deals with the administration, which is the adoption of the International Fire Code with local amendments. There are this next section, the 701 amendments to the fire code, which provides the local amendments and the changes, more specifically referencing the removal of criminal actions as per the administration's goal of removing criminal aspects of these ordinances in the township. Also, we have amended the fire code in a few places and have updated the institution of the portable outdoor fire bases and for clarification for the township. And other changes that were made in terms of geographic limits, there are inspections, which is covered in section 2, which provides inspection guidelines. Section 3 covers alarm systems. And definitions. New systems, giving guidelines for new systems and existing systems in addition to repairs and maintenance. And then the duties and powers of the fire department and the department of licensing and inspection. Providing permit requirements. Also providing box requirements, enforcement violations and penalties. And so there's a severability clause, repealer and effective date. So it's
Great, thank you. Great. At this point in time, I'd like to open a public hearing on ordinance number 3099. If there are any residents that have any questions or concerns, please come to the podium and ask. There is no time limit on the public hearings or ordinances. So please start by saying your name and your address.
My name's Spiro Pappas. I live at 2423 Cedar Lane. There's one section of the ordinance that I don't know how you're going to enforce it because these outdoor fireplaces, they're burned late at night. So who are we supposed to call? We're supposed to call 911 when they get out of hand. The township building closes at 5 o'clock. So there is no government official to enforce this section of the ordinance.
You would call 911.
The police can enforce municipal ordinance. Absolutely.
Well, the thing about it is, these outdoor fire pits or outdoor fireplaces, especially in row homes, the smoke if the next door neighbor is burning the fire pit or the outdoor fireplace, we can't even open our windows because the smoke is coming inside our house. It's a nuisance. They shouldn't even be allowed in Upper Darby.
So I understand that part of the smoke issue depends on what they're burning. And within the ordinance, it regulates what is allowed to be burned, what's not allowed to be burned.
I understand that, but how are you going to enforce that? How do we know what they're burning in there? I mean, we don't know what they're burning in there. How are you going to, we're going to say, hey, look, they're burning newspaper or leaves in there? Or how are you going to enforce that?
Call the police.
So if Chief, maybe you can answer that if they're burning, what kind of material would cause smoke for them to come in their house?
And Chief, sir, there's a spot for you next to Treasurer Hammond. All right, didn't get a chance to tell you.
Good afternoon. All right, so the ordinance talks about the requirements, things that you should be burning, basic wood and things of that nature. Yes, if you're burning plywood and things of that nature that are coated with chemicals that can cause toxic smokes. But even if you're burning regular wood, if the smoke is getting into your house, you should dial 911 and we can actually require that the fire pit be put out.
Oh, you can't, that's allowed?
If there's a nuisance, you can have it.
I don't want to be a bad neighbor. You know, I like being a good neighbor. I don't want to call the police on somebody, you know, especially someone that lives within the neighborhood. I mean, these fire pits shouldn't be really allowed. I mean, I understand people want to burn these things. I don't know why they want to burn these things. I mean, I know they want to enjoy the outside. I know they want to keep the bugs away and stuff like that. They're trying to keep the bugs away. But there are no bugs in the fall or the winter. I don't know. I don't know what, you know, I don't know what the purpose of burning these things are, but they are a nuisance. I mean, I don't want to really be a bad neighbor. And for me to call 911, I don't know if it can remain anonymous. If it is anonymous, they say it's anonymous. You know, it's not really, I don't really think it is anonymous. They're going to say, hey, look, someone complained. They're going to want to, the person's going to want a name. I'm going to become a victim. I don't want to become a victim in my neighborhood.
So one of the recommendations, if you want to be a good neighbor, is first talk to the person. Say, look,
I understand that, but.
Can I finish?
Go ahead.
So you would, being a good neighbor, you can knock on the door and say, look, the smoke is coming into my window, could you please either reposition it or put it out? That way you don't have to dial 911. So being a good neighbor is a twofold piece, right? So they would have to be a good neighbor to make sure they're burning the right products and try to make so that they check the wind conditions. So there's a lot of variables also. If it's a windy day, you probably shouldn't have a fire pit, things of that nature. So I think being a good use of tools.
I see also that there's, they have to be 15 feet away from the residence there. Is that correct?
15 feet from the property line and 25 feet from anything that's above 21 feet height.
So that means it can't be near any trees or, it has to be, does it have to be, does it have to be gravel on the bottom of the fire pit or the fireplace, outdoor fireplace? So the grass, because they're burning it on the grass, they are burning it on the grass, and the grass is combustible. And so so I call them, if they're burning it on the grass, that's not abiding by the ordinance, correct?
No, it's not, it's the ordinance and the fire code. So you look up the fire code, there's specific requirements. If you have a problem, dial 911 will come out. If it's during the daytime, you can call the fire department, will come out.
And how are you going to, people don't really abide by these ordinances. They don't know. They're not going to go out there with a tape measure and, hey, this is 15 feet or this is 25 feet. This ordinance, to me, this part of the ordinance, I mean, for these fire pits, I'm really totally against. I know people are free to do what to do with their properties and stuff like that, but they're a nuisance. Even if someone down the street's burning, you can still smell it come inside your house or smell it in the neighborhood. I mean, I know I'm really being a bad person here about coming about this ordinance, but I don't know. I really don't like the section. I don't really like the fire pits. But I mean, I really don't like them. I'm really against them. I mean, I think they're a nuisance. That's all. But if you pass this ordinance, I guess I'll be dialing 911.
I'm sorry.
President Wentz.
I'm sorry. Can I?
Sure, yes.
Yes.
Councilor.
Mr. Thomas, thank you for your remarks. So I just have a question, right? So what's your resolution? Because I heard you say that, this is, it's a nuisance and you don't want to be a bad neighbor and you don't want to call 911 all the time. What is your solution to these fire pits?
I don't think they should be allowed in Upper Darby. They're a fire hazard. I mean, people don't abide by ordinance.
Right.
You know that for a fact. They don't go sit down and say, hey, look, here's an ordinance, and they read word for word. They don't. They might glance at it. People don't either, they're out there burning the fire pits, they're out there drinking a beer. I mean, it gets a little.
May I just comment real quick?
Sure.
Obviously, every ordinance that this body and everybody passes or considers, none of them are perfect. We are moving forward by moving the recommendations of Chief Sawyer tonight. We can go ahead if this ordinance does not do the trick. We can come back in a couple of months and revise and amend the ordinance.
Right.
And thank you for your comments.
And also, sure, I actually wanted to just throw in, before Chief Sawyer speaks again, I just wanted to point out that this ordinance, because of the care that Chief Sawyer took with it, with Mayor and CAO to make this as specific as possible, our previous ordinance did not cover fire pits because they weren't part of the equation at that time. So this is a great improvement to make sure that there are regulations for fire pits. And it also gives the regulation that we're implying is an extra 5 feet than was actually in the International Fire Code. So our chief has made specific requests for this ordinance to really have more stringent guidelines than the International Fire Code. So I just want to let him speak, but I just wanted to clarify those are reasons why this ordinance is before us and why it's important for us to move forward with it, because without it, there is no regulations for fire pits at all in our current ordinance. So we must pass this in order to have some regulations and a course of action for all residents.
I have nothing against the ordinance. I have just a certain section of the ordinance.
No, I understand.
I appreciate if you would amend it in such a way so people cannot burn it when there's a row of homes, because a row, I mean, to me, that could, a row, it can, the embers can go into somebody else's lawn and catch fire.
Chief Sawyer?
Yeah, just wanted to add
I understand there's supposed to be screens on, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I understand there's supposed to be screens on the fire pits and everything like that. I read that part, that there's supposed to be screens on there. But people don't put screens on there. They burn them openly and willingly.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that one of the things we will be willing to do also as an administration is to put out safety messages to the residents about the use of fire. So it's not just passing the ordinance. Once the ordinance is passed, what we'll be doing is putting out information on the website on how to use those things safely and making sure that we give out information so that they are aware. You said they're not going to follow the ordinance because they're not going to read it. Well, we'll be putting out information on the websites on how to do it safely so that we don't have some of those issues.
I appreciate your comments, but like I said before, people don't really take into account everything,
And that's where we come in. We'll come in and provide information. It's the same with fire safety in your home. Most people don't do things in their home safety. So it's our job as a fire department to educate the community on how to act safely. And that's one thing we're doing more.
And actually, in reference to that, we have, council has been, we've been at events, handing out information, and the fire department have provided us a lot of information in 7 different languages that we have been handing out about cooking, and the proper protocols for cooking and how to prevent a fire. So there's a variety of avenues in which we do educate the residents, about the different regulations, and our fire department does an excellent job on the education side of the equation. And I greatly appreciate them, and I need more of those flyers. But Councilman Burke and then Councilman Wagner. So Councilman Burke.
President, Mr. Pappas, the way the ordinance that I see, any row home doesn't have the square footage or the setback to even have a fireplace. And most twins don't have the room also for the combustible. And Chief Sawyer, I know in the past, the fire department has extinguished many fire pits on the weekends in the past during the week. So if the smoke is blowing one way, people do call, the fire trucks do come out. They nicely tell them they have to put it out. So they do their job, and the setbacks are because of row homes. You don't have the setbacks for row homes and most twins. So it's the fire code.
Yeah, but they do burn them they do burn them in my neighborhood.
Well, that's what 911 is.
And it is anonymous.
And it is anonymous, and chief and the fire department has extinguished them in the past.
Okay.
And we haven't put this in law.
And,
I know you haven't put it in law yet. I just want you to amend it a little bit so it doesn't, so it includes.
Councilman Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Pappas. I think we already established I'm your councilman. And I'd like you to know, I'm very sympathetic to the concern you're raising. So is the chief, so is everybody. I raised similar issues myself a couple of weeks ago, and I think the chief and I had a discussion about it here. The fact is, though, nothing's perfect.
I understand that.
This is a very significant step in the right direction. It would be very difficult to prohibit outside burning completely, 100%. We'd probably get an enormous negative reaction to that. Nevertheless, this ordinance really is very clear. No waste material or any material that is likely to cause excessive smoke or noxious odors shall be used. So if that's happening, you're getting smoke and embers into your house, you're not being the bad neighbor. The person who's causing that is being the bad neighbor. You're going to have to be willing to call 911 if, after talking to the neighbor, that didn't help. Or maybe you don't want to talk to the neighbor because you want to stay completely anonymous. I get that. So just call 911, tell them you want to be anonymous, and they'll respond. And if this, after a period of time, isn't working, maybe we have to revisit it. But I think it's the best we can do right now.
But
Mr. Pappas, I understand your passion for this issue, and I think council's heard a lot of your perspective on this. I know we have a busy agenda for the rest of this. I'm not.
I don't mean to hold up your agenda. I don't mean to hold up your
I think
agenda.
council's heard your concerns.
Okay.
Thank you. Or are there any other concerns you have other than the fire pits?
No, that was basically about it. I mean, you know,
Thank
I
you.
mean, that's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has any questions or concerns on the International Fire Code ordinance number 3099? From the audience, anyone? All right, seeing,
I have one final comment, but if you don't mind my making that.
okay,
I know the Councilman Barnett, who's not here tonight, had some concerns that were raised and discussed last time. He told me today that those have been resolved.
great, yes, thank you. So at this point in time, we're closing.
Just one quick thing. Sorry. I just want to let residents know, just echo what my colleague said, we do take everyone, opinions into account. I think one of the beauties of governing Upper Upper Township is a lot of neighborhoods are different, right? Some neighborhoods row homes, some are twin, single, some are all three. So sometimes when we put things forward, we have that in mind and you always go back to the drawing board. So I want you to know, Mr. Pappas, your concerns are heard. We heard them today. And
It's hard to.
we'll take into consideration. Thank you.
Yes. What's the laws established?
Yes, so I'm sorry, we've heard your concerns, we will, but we're going to move forward. At this point in time, the public forum is closed, seeing that there is no more public comment. And at this point in time, can I get a motion to find my paperwork, there it is, to approve ordinance number 3099. Corrales.
Councilwoman Corrales, yeah.
And
then, Councilwoman Blackwell.
okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or concerns from council on this ordinance? Councilman Silva?
Yes, so discussing fire pits, I guess at this point, since their fire pits are discussed in our previous fire ordinance, they're basically all admissible and they're unregulated at this time without the passage of this ordinance.
Correct.
Okay, so passing this ordinance will help regulate them and help make their usage fall under safer guidelines.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, that's my question.
Awesome, thank you, good question. Okay, any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, can we get a roll call?
Yes. Councilor Tunis,
Yes.
Councilor Middleton, yes. Councilor Silver,
Yes.
Councilwoman Blackwell.
Yes.
Councilor Gwen,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Sidi,
Yes.
Councilor Corrales,
Yes.
Councilor Barnett is excused, Councilor Wagner,
Yes.
and Councilor President Wentz.
Yes,
Yes.
awesome, thank you, Councilman. Wonderful. So next up, we have the Public Safety Committee co-chairs Blackwell and Burke, members Tunis, Junior, and Silva. We are, Solicitor Kilkenny, can we get a brief on ordinance number 3100?
Sure.
Fireworks.
Yep, thank you very much, President Lentz. As we heard in our committee meeting, the General Assembly several years back put legislation in effect allowing fireworks. Many municipalities, much of the ability to regulate fireworks are preempted by state law when the General Assembly passed the bill allowing fireworks, meaning the municipality's ability to regulate fireworks is limited because it's usurped by state law. We, as Upper Darby Township, are not a member of PSATS or the Township Supervisors Association or the Boroughs Association, but two of those bodies have put forward recommended ordinances, and definitely both of them, there's housing stock in Upper Darby that's reflective of both of those organizations. So what this ordinance does is, again, it's not perfect. It doesn't, it's not going to go ahead and prohibit fireworks. But if there are egregious circumstances, it will give code and or the police the ability to regulate people that are really abusing their privileges for fireworks. So I'm going to read some of the prohibitions for consumer fireworks right here. I'm reading 375.3, conditions. The person who is at least 18 years of age and meets the requirements of the chapter may purchase, possess, and fireworks subject to the prohibition set forth in section 52.3b below. Prohibition. The person may not intentionally ignite or discharge consumer fireworks on township streets, sidewalks, parks, or other township-owned property. Consumer fireworks on private property without the express permission of the owner. 3, consumer works on sparkling devices within or throw consumer fireworks or sparkling devices from a vehicle or building. 4, consumer fireworks or sparkling devices into or at a motor vehicle or building or another person. 5, consumer fireworks or sparkling devices while the person is under the influence of alcohol or a controlled substance. And 6, consumer fireworks within 150 feet of an occupied structure. That's obviously something that would apply to much of Upper Darby. Occupied structure doesn't mean that it actually has to be physically occupied. Per definition, it means that it has to be zoned to be occupied. There are definitions in here that comply with the state law. There's a violation and penalties clause for this, and a repeal and severability clause. I know this was discussed at length in committee, but I'll be prepared to answer any questions that the council may have at the public hearing or the podcast.
Great, thank you. So at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for ordinance number 3100. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to come forward? Go ahead and speak on this ordinance. Please state your name and your address.
Spiro Pappas, 2423 Cedar Lane, Drexel Hill, PA. I really appreciate this ordinance because these fireworks are getting out of hand. They're set off before and after 4th of July. And I really appreciate you going through with this ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak upon this ordinance? Please state your name and your address.
Hi, Margaret Wilson, 824 Drexel Avenue, Drexel Hill. Before 3 months ago, I had a lot of sympathy for people who had to live with this, but now I'm living with it. Over 4th of July weekend, our new neighbors were setting them off from the street, the actual street, and it was just constant. My question is, and this goes back to, Facebook comments and, things like that from prior years. How do you enforce this? Because people have scanners. So, someone calls in to report it to 911, they're listening to the scanners and they're on before the police get there. What would constitute evidence?
Sure, I've dealt with this in other townships that they've enforced it. Someone calls the police, they take pictures themselves with their cell phone, and then they go to district court. I've seen it happen many times.
Okay, so I could film it going on, and then when the police
that would be evidence. You have to be willing to testify, and that would be evidence.
That's great. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this ordinance in support for or against? Come on up.
Hi.
Please state your name and address.
Martine Picard from 221 South Madison. I know some of the things I'm going to say are redundant regarding this, and I know everybody is working on this to try to ensure everyone's peaceful enjoyment of their homes. The issues with the fireworks are that they are disruptive to people with PTSD, individuals on the autism spectrum. They frighten animals and wildlife. Dogs run, children get upset. People say that fireworks are happening to celebrate our vets, etc., but really they're disrespectful to these people who often have PTSD. I can't read my own word here. The majority of people do like fireworks within reason, on and around the 4th, on and around certain holidays. We're all fine with that. Last night, 11 p.m., they started going off again. I probably would have forgotten about this here tonight if that hadn't happened last night and jarred me from sleep. I would like to see in the ordinance a more strict guideline on the dates that people are allowed to set them off. I don't know if that's anything that can be enforced. And I don't know how to hold people, how we can hold people accountable for setting them off as frequently as they do and outside of the safety guidelines that have been set up to do so, because nobody's that require distance from a building. Nobody. There's so few places in this township where, because it has to be on your private property, forget the distance, but those places are few and far between. And that's all I'd like to throw into the pot is that maybe more restrictions on the days they can be set off.
The ordinance of the bill, 2 hours after sunset, we have that. As far as the dates go, I think that will likely be preempted by state law. That's the problem. So I would talk to Senator Kearney, Representative Zabel, Representative Davidson about those kind of issues.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your concerns. Anyone else? All right. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. At this point in time, the public hearing is closed. Can we get a motion to approve ordinance number 3100?
I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
All right. Councilman Burns. Yeah, it's gotta be faster. It's gotta go fast.
Motion.
Tunis Junior made the motion and Burke seconded. And then we did have a tie, and then third place tie for Gwynn and Silva. Thank you guys. Sorry. It's just, I appreciate you, that's all that I'm clarifying. So are there any questions or concerns from council on this ordinance? Seeing none, I just want to say that I appreciate the residents who have spoken in favor of this ordinance. I too have that same problem of my pets flying through the air and ducking for cover during fireworks and so forth. I did feel one night that I personally have not been in a military situation during a war scenario, but I felt like that's what it would have been like if I had been. So I agree. I appreciate Chief Sawyer and our CAO and Mayor for taking the time to make this possible. And the 150 feet makes it so that really, quite frankly, there are not many places you can shoot off fireworks in our township that's not done professionally, like at our fireworks show that was fabulous. So this gives our police and fire department the tools that they need to enforce. And so please feel free to take video and photos of the action. All right. Hey, fireworks going off. So that's happening during this discussion. Can we get a roll call vote? Yes. So that we can get right out there. Who's got the camera?
Brian.
Councilor Junior,
Yes.
Councilor Velozquez, yes. Councilor Silver,
Yes.
Councilor Blackwell,
Yes.
Councilor Gwynn,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Sadiq,
Yes.
Councilor Corralier,
Yes.
Councilor Barnett is excused, Councilor Wagner,
Yes.
and Council President Wentz.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you all so much for passing that ordinance. Who got video of that? Okay, so next up, we have the Finance and Appropriations Committee, co-chairs Councilman Gwynn Jr. and Silva, council members Blackwell and Burke. We have resolution 3321 and Ms. Richardson, take it away.
Thank you, Council President. This is a resolution of the Township authorizing the application for the multimodal transportation grant through the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development for the development of the Cardington Newtown Trail. Just for clarification, this is asking to apply for the multimodal transportation grant through DCD, and so it is the CAO would like to comment more on the project.
CAO, can you give us a little more information since it wasn't before us for the committee meeting? Great to get more. Thank Thank you.
Sure. So, the Cardington Newtown Trail is, a part of an old, Pico right of way, that, is meant to, improve the connectivity in the township and be a multi-use trail for not just recreation, but also for, commuting purposes. This is a section of the trail that goes roughly from Long Lane to Ruskin Lane. And the idea is we have a Pico Greenways grant that will be the first $20,000 of the project. The multimodal grant doesn't require a match, but we do already have that initial funding. Yeah, it's an important trail to the mayor and her vision for the future of trails in the township, because there aren't a lot of recreational amenities in this neighborhood, and it's an area where increasingly people aren't using cars for commuting, so the trail will make everyone safer as they travel through the neighborhood. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. Can we get a motion to approve resolution 3321?
So
Blackwell, Phillips right here and Blackwell. Okay, so I'm going to go with
Is this
Phillips.
like a race tonight?
It is. Which is awesome. That's better than everyone silent when you're asking for a motion. So I greatly appreciate it. Okay, so are there any questions or concerns on this resolution?
Just want to.
Go ahead.
Just want to applaud this administration for residents in that area that have asked for this for a long time. A lot of youth lack of recreational activity, and I think this will help that area.
Right, and also the clarification that it ends at Chapman Park. It goes to Chapman Park at this point in time.
Yeah, that's
Great, thank you. Wonderful. Any other questions or concerns? All right, seeing none, can we get all those in favor of passing resolution 3321? Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say your name. Hearing none. You guys rock. Awesome. Wonderful. All right. Okay, so next up, I find my agenda again. Yep, I'm good. So next up, Solicitor, take it away.
Thank you very much, President Wentz. First of all, after conferring with the mayor and the administration, I just wanted to let you know my law firm has been authorized to file a series of assessment appeals on behalf of Upper Darby Township. As you know, last year there was a court-ordered countywide reassessment, and while there was a very tight timetable to get that done, there were mistakes, I'm sure, that were made, or some properties that were not assessed properly, with that process. August 1st is the deadline every year annually for municipalities to go ahead and file assessment appeals. So what we did is, after conferring with the mayor and administration, my office, Dan Greaser of my office, suggested a process that the mayor has decided to adopt. So we looked at the sales of properties in the township since the 2009 reassessment date. We started by only considering properties that only sold for $400,000. We then compared the sales price to the current assessment. If the property sold for more than 1.25 times the current assessment, we recommended that the properties be appealed, and the mayor agreed. For this, just so that there is some kind of understanding of exactly how many properties this is, there are 32 total using that analysis, including 15 single-family homes, and that there were other gradients we could have done, and for a total of around 50 properties overall. Those were to aggregate those two numbers added together, 32 and 15. So we could have gone lower, we could have gone higher, but after confirming with the mayor, knowing this is the first time the township has done so, we decided to go with this. The reason why, I know many people have asked, could we just appeal commercial properties? We can't. There is state law related to the Valley Forge case where the Pennsylvania Supreme Court looked at the uniformity clause of taxation for the Pennsylvania Constitution and says that we have to have an objective standard. That's why we recommended a dollar threshold. We can't just cherry pick, all the high commercial properties in the township. So our office will be filing these before the deadline of August 1st. So that is an update. This was the subject of the executive session tonight, and the mayor just wanted to inform council of her policy decision on this. Obviously, our office has been busy with the fire code, fireworks, numerous right to know requests. I know it's been a long meeting. So subject to any of your questions, that's the solicitor's report.
Also, I want to chime in that council did agree with the mayor's assessment during our executive session. I thought that it was the right course of action. So thank you. Great, thank you. All right, so next up is old business. Anyone have any old business to bring to this? All right. Seeing no old business, who has some new business? Councilman Siddiq, do you have a, I believe there's an event you want to.
Yes, many thanks to our mayor. She was the part of the vaccine clinic in Philadelphia Society. And it was, and all we know that the coronavirus exists. It's not going nowhere very soon. So the community member, elected official, we should encourage our neighbors and friends and family, whoever did not vaccine, they should vaccinate. And with that, in Upper Darby Islamic Center, with the coordination of Delaware County, we're having the vaccine clinic for 1 month, which is we start for July 18, 10 to 12, and it's going to be ended August 8, 10 to 12, which is the vaccine clinic, which is Pfizer, and it's going to be 12 plus years. As soon as I get the flyer from the county office, I will send it to you, Madam President, and then we can advertise it.
Great, I will share it.
And that next clinic will be August 1st, which again, this is on Sunday, 10 to 12, and the last one will be Sunday, August 8. And that's all I have. Thank you so much. And by the way, it was good last story, good one.
Great, thank you. Anyone else have new business? Okay, seeing none. Wow. Okay, so can we get one more motion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Thank you all very much. You guys are wonderful. Thank you for